Hi guys, I trust that you're feeling well and awesome. Welcome to this video on grade 10 mathematics, and in this video we will have a look at analytical geometry, and particularly we'll be looking at the midpoint formula. Now this is a continuation of the previous video that we covered, the distance formula. So if you haven't checked out the video, I would highly suggest that you please go check out the video before you come back to this one, just so that you have a bit of an idea as to what exactly the distance formula is before moving on to the midpoint formula. So as previously mentioned, in today's video, we'll be looking at the midpoint formula. So without any further ado, let's get straight into it. If you can remember from the previous video, we covered the definition of analytical geometry, and we said this is the study of geometry using coordinates. So we still have the same basic properties of parallelograms and quadrilaterals and triangles and straight lines and parallel lines that you learned from Euclidean geometry, but in this case, we're working with coordinates specifically. Now, the following subtopics are the ones that we look at in analytical geometry from grade 10. We're looking at the distance formula, which we did in the previous video. In this video, we'll be having a look at how to find the midpoint, what exactly the midpoint is. Then there's the gradient. We've got parallel and perpendicular lines, and the equation of a straight line. So, let's talk about the midpoint. If we are given 2 points with the coordinates x1 and y1, x2 and y2, we can calculate the midpoint of the 2 points using the equation listed below, using the equation shown below. Now, once again, just like with the distance formula, nothing is stopping you from starting with x2, then plus x1. But if you do it this way, then on your y, you're supposed to start with y2 and y1. Because if you flip the order, then your coordinates would be absolutely wrong. Notice that in this equation above here, the value of m is a point. Now, point implying that there must be an x as well as a y coordinate. This is different to the distance formula, whereby we just have one number as an answer. When calculating the midpoint, in most cases you need to have an x and a y value. So let's look at some examples on how to do this. So the first question says we need to calculate the midpoint of a with the coordinates -2 and 3, and b with the coordinates of 4 and 7. Now, let's go to the writing pad and let's actually look at this. So we are given the coordinates of a as being -2 and 3, and we are given the coordinates of b, which are 4 and 7. Now, just like what we did with the distance formula, the first thing we need to do is to identify what is x1, what is y1, what is x2, what is y2. I'm going to let this be x1, then this should be y1. If this is x2, then this would be y2. So, to get the midpoint, I'm going to use capital M to represent the midpoint. I am going to say, according to my formula, this is x1 plus x2 divided by 2. Then, this is y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So now that we have this, let's actually substitute our values. So for x1, we've got -2 plus x2, that's 4, divided by 2. Then for y1, we've got 3 plus y2, which is 7, divided by 2. Now, the last step would be for us to simplify this. So -2 plus 4, that gives us +2 over 2. And then 7 plus 3, that's going to give us 10 over 2. And our midpoint in this instance is going to be 2 divided by 2 is 1. Then 10 divided by 2, that's going to give us 5. Wonderful. There we are. Life is great. We are done finding the midpoint. And so let's look at the next question. In the next question, we're supposed to find the coordinates of D. And we are told that D bisects the line EF, where the coordinates of E and F are 12 and 0 and 4 for E. And then for F, it's 12 and -13. So let's understand, what does bisect mean? Bisect means to divide into 2 equal halves. Now, having said that, it would imply that the point D divides the line EF into 2 equal halves. Therefore, D would be the midpoint of E and F. So, let's go to our writing pad and let's actually work on this. So, we are given the coordinates of E, which are 0 and 4. Then we're given the coordinates of F, which are 12 and -13. We are finding D, which is the midpoint. So first, let us write out our coordinates. If this is x1, this is y1. If this is x2, then this is y2. Once again, you can let the coordinates of f be x1 and y1, and the coordinates of E be x2 and y2. It does not matter. So D, our midpoint. Whoops, that's a terrible D. D, our midpoint, is going to be, once again, x1 plus x2 divided by 2. Then we're going to have y1 plus y2 divided by 2. And when we do this, we are going to get x1, that's 0 plus x2, which is 12, divided by 2. And then y1, this is 4 plus y2, this is going to give us negative 13 divided by 2. When we simplify this, we're going to get 12 plus 0, that's just 12 divided by 2. And then 4 plus minus 13, that's going to give us negative 9 over 2. And so your coordinates of D would be 12 divided by 2, that's 6. Then we're just going to leave this as negative 9 over 2. If you want to write it as a decimal, you may feel free to write it as a decimal, depending, of course, on what the question wants. If the question wants it to be as a fraction, we could just leave it like this. If you have to write it in a decimal form, then you can convert it to decimal. Awesome. I hope that makes sense. Now let's look at the last question. We are given f and we're told that f is the midpoint of jk. And we have the coordinates of j, but we don't have the coordinates of k. The question says we need to determine the coordinates of k. Let's go back to our writing pad and let's actually look at this. I'm going to make some space here. So, looking at the question, we are given f and we are told that f is the midpoint. Now the coordinates of f are 4 and 13. We have the coordinates of j, which are 11 and negative 7. And then we have got the coordinates of k, which are just x and y. Now, something to take note of here. F is our midpoint. So unlike in the previous example, we are given the midpoint. But nevertheless, let's still label our points. Let me make this x2 and this y2. Then let me make this x1 and this y1. Once again, you can make the coordinates of j x1 and y1, coordinates of k x2 and y2. It's still going to be the same. So our midpoint f is equals to x1 plus y1 divided by, that's x1 plus x2 divided by 2. Then this is going to be y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So let's look at this. Coordinates of f are given, so I'm going to substitute this in. That's 4 and 13. And this is going to be equals to, for x1, we've just got x. And for x2, this is 11 over 2. Then for y1, we have got y plus y2, this is negative 7 over 2. Now, let's simplify this. So, we've got 4 and 13 here. This is equals to x plus 11 divided by 2 and y minus 7 divided by 2. Now, we have a setup whereby we are kind of stuck. We're not calculating the midpoint. Instead, we are given the midpoint. When you're given something like this, what you need to remember is equate your x's and then equate your y's. Then you'll be able to solve for your unknown. So in essence, I'm saying if I equate my x's, the x coordinate of the midpoint will be equals to x plus 11 divided by 2. The y coordinate of the midpoint will be equals to y minus 7 divided by 2. Now we do our normal mathematics of solving for x and y. So I'm going to multiply by 2 on both sides so that I get rid of my denominator. And then 2 times 4 is going to give us 8. 8 is equals to x plus 11. Now we do normal maths. Take the 11 to the other side. You get 8 minus 11 is equals to x. 8 minus 11, that's going to give you negative 3 as the value of x. Wonderful. Now let's solve for y. So we're going to multiply by 2 again to get rid of our denominator. There we are. 13 times 2 will give you 26. And 26 is equals to y minus 7. Once again, let's take the minus 7 to the other side. You're going to get 26 plus 7 is equals to y. 26 plus 7, that is going to give you 33 is equals to y. Now the question says we need to find the coordinates of k, which are x and y. So your coordinates of k are going to be -3 and +33. Wonderful. There we are. We are done solving the equation. Life is great. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you understand the content and I hope that you found it beneficial. If you do, please like the video, please subscribe to the channel, and most importantly, please share the video with other people so that they can benefit from the same knowledge that you guys are learning from here. If you have any requests, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below and we will try to get back to you as soon as possible. Until then, have a blessed day. Ciao.